Greetings. Today we are going to look at sufferings, as God can use sufferings as a good thing, but we can see suffering as a bad thing also. And for that, we can turn to Mark chapter 8, where Jesus was talking about his death on the cross. And at that time, Peter said that it is not for you to go to the cross. And Peter resisted, rebuked Christ, saying that you should not go to the cross because it is a suffering that should not be upon you. Peter looked at it as a suffering that is going to come upon Jesus Christ, and he thought he was protecting Jesus Christ. But this goes well beyond what Peter was thinking. This to Peter was a suffering, but to Christ, it was something that is going to bring salvation, that is going to save Peter from his sin. And that we see in Hebrews chapter 4. We see that Jesus learned obedience through suffering, and then it brought about salvation. And Habakkuk also misunderstood God when he said that he is going to bring Chaldeans to chastise the nation of Israel. He thought that God is doing something unfair and God is bringing sufferings and infliction upon the nation of Israel, and that too with a nation which is so much more um, evil than they were. And he thought that God is unfair. But God, when he said that he is going to do something that he will never be able to understand, Habakkuk came to a conclusion, and that conclusion was amazing to read. And come to Habakkuk chapter 3, it says, and verse 17, though the fig tree should not blossom, and there be no fruit on the vine, though the yield of the olive should fail, and the fields produce no food, though the flock should be cut off from the fold, and there be no cattle in the stall, yes, I will exult in the Lord, and I will rejoice in God of my salvation. So here Habakkuk saw that God is good, and no matter what, God is going to do something that is going to bless him. And Habakkuk came to that conclusion. Peter saw it as a suffering, and sometimes in our lives we can see sufferings as something that is inflicted upon us because of our evil sin nature, but it is not like that. God can allow suffering into our lives to teach us obedience, to bring about something amazing, because in Romans chapter 8, God says that He will work all things together for good for those who love God. I mean, all things. It's not just the good. It's not something that is a blessing. It's not something that is good to our eyes. But to our eyes, it could be a suffering. To our eyes, it could be an injustice that is caused by somebody else. And we could be thinking, this injustice that has occurred to me is unfair. But God can do something out of it that you will not believe, even though it were told to you. Thank you. This